Welcome to the Voncast show. Today I have a special guest who's been, I think this is your fourth time here.
Is it?
First time, let's run it back. First time was at CSUN, and I didn't bring my stand tripod for my phone. We had to make doing the desks. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We had to like MacGyver it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
MacGyver it.
Yeah.
Second time was at your place. Yeah, I got to the train station in SGV and I had a bag over my head, and you drove me to your place.
Yeah.
I
was like, wait, what?
Secret headquarters. Third time was with Tiffany.
Secret headquarters. Yes.
And that was back at CSUN. Fourth time, here we are.
And here we are.
Nice to see you, Karen. I haven't heard your voice since last year.
Oh no, you heard it yesterday.
Oh my God! They don't know that.
I haven't heard my voice in a while either. This is tripping me out.
Dude, I was tripped
This
out.
is how I sound. Okay.
It sounds good. It sounds nice.
Hi, thank you.
Happy Friday 13th.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Are you superstitious?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Black cat crosses your way.
I don't like cats. So that gets me a little
that's right.
Edgy, and I look at cats and I'm like, what are you doing
here? Got it.
But it's all like, to me, semi-mental. So I'm like, you're just a cat. You're just a color.
Yeah, for me, it's number 13 kind of trips me out. Even though I realize I have the number 13 in Roman numerals tatted right here, it still kind of trips me out. Like today I was supposed to go to San Gabriel Valley, get some authentic dim sum at 888 Seafood. In Rosemead. But due to the weather and the current coronavirus scare, pandemic, we decided maybe it's better if you come here.
Out into the valley. Yeah.
And
limit our interactions with large groups of people or in public spaces.
Yes. And it was funny because I was like, well, the rain's whatever, and it's whatever right now. It's not too bad. Coronavirus, I'm not really worried about getting it, I was like, fine. But, knock on wood, but.
I mean, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
But when we mentioned it's Friday 13th, that's kind of scary. Let's just, I don't want to mess with that.
It was just like a lot of things going on, though.
Yeah, three things. The third one is a nail in the coffin.
It's just a lot of layers.
Today, I messed up the address. We were in the middle of a street, where is it? I got to check. And I checked, it's this address.
Yeah, I was like, you've been here before, Vaughn. I haven't. What does it look like?
I was like, a brick building, a bunch of brick buildings.
Yeah. Navigation took us to the middle of the street. That was cool.
And then getting in the studio, I didn't know there's a lock. I had to call.
Just lots of things.
Yeah,
lots of things. But we roll with it.
With it.
It's been. I think that's kind of been the theme. We have to kind of be fluid.
Right.
We're kind of used to structure, right?
Yeah.
Schedules, things being a certain way, and especially with the pandemic going on, we have to learn how to, find what our resources are, be fluid, be flexible, adapt.
Yeah.
Be resourceful.
100%. Yeah. So I went to I thought it was it can't be that bad. I went to I see the videos on Facebook. I just close immediately of the grocery stores if they're lacking certain items.
Yeah.
I'm like, it can't be that bad.
I mean, social media is also making it a little more.
Oh, 100%.
Giving us way more anxiety than we need.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It really does. And I spoke about it yesterday where I was like, I have to limit my amount of time on social media, or just don't keep scrolling. The more you scroll, the more likely you'll see some stuff. But I was like, okay, I'm sure there's a few rolls of toilet paper left. Nope. Everything was cleared out.
Well, that's the other thing, honestly. I went out and I was with a group of friends and we were discussing the whole toilet paper thing.
Yeah.
And it was literally just a California thing, I think. Everywhere else there's toilet paper.
Really?
I think it's a California and New York thing right now. And we were over here like, I don't get it. Why toilet paper though?
Yeah.
Why toilet paper?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And someone was telling me that like there was a fight, you know, like these two ladies at Target were fighting over like a roll, like this thing of toilet. And I was just like I couldn't wrap my head around it. We were like, why toilet paper? Honestly, like a couple rolls will last you a while, even if you're quarantined.
Yeah.
You know, like that should last you. So we just don't understand the toilet paper thing.
I also, not to defend them, maybe you have a bigger family, possibly.
I get that, and I was trying to think like different perspectives, right? Like, okay, maybe you're buying not just for you, you're buying for your family, and you want to be aware, but then also like the hysteria, people are like, oh, I'm running low, so let me just stock up on like the rest of everything, you know? And so it's just a little overboard.
Doomsday preppers are having their moment right now.
Yeah, Armageddon preppers, Doomsday preppers.
You're thinking ahead. But yeah, you know, I hear though, like, at one point, Korea had a really bad incident, and now they're down to like they're good again.
I think it has a lot to do with our response.
Yeah.
You know how the government's responding, but then like also how we don't have medical kits available, we don't have healthcare accessible. I mean, we'd already have a healthcare issue without a epidemic going on. Imagine now, you know. Yeah. So it's like I get it. We don't have the resources. There's a delay, you know, and then people don't have access to begin with, and then insurance, you know, so there's a lot of different things that are playing into this right now, and the spread of it, you know, and then of course it's the scare, so it just plays on to a bigger issue, and 100%. I think brings light to how our government handles things and the healthcare issues that surround, you know, the general public.
Yeah, I'll show you a Facebook post that an actual ER doctor posted on his own. And to me, it was, you know, it's very realistic, but it wasn't like, you know, it didn't sugarcoat things or make things a lot worse than it is. So it's nice to hear. But back to, before all that stuff, though, what do you do? I know I know what you do, but I'm, you know.
Anyways, who are you?
Who are you? Hi.
Why are we talking? What's going on here? Who are these people?
So I remember I'm fortunate to be in this part of the journey where you're doing different things and the different podcasts. You know, one podcast you graduated CSUN. The second podcast you were working at a different organization, and this podcast you're doing different things in this time. You know, can you tell us what you do?
Wow, it's a loaded question. I'm still struggling with answering questions like that because I feel like I'm so like multidimensional, but we all are, right? But yeah, thanks for like recapping that because it kind of took me back, and I've been doing like a lot of reflecting, you know, outside of Mercury Retrograde. But
I'm gonna get back to that. So I don't know what that is. I see it a lot, but go ahead.
But yeah, since then, so my name is Karen, and I am the creator of Create Herstory. And when we first spoke, it was post-grad, CSUN, Asian American Studies. There was a lot of like still trying to define the course that I was going on, you know, hopping into nonprofit world. And there were still a lot of just soul searching, I think that was going on. A lot of like identifying, you know, what I wanted to do and figure out. I think when I was building like Create Herstory, I was still trying to figure out what kind of platform I wanted to create. And I wasn't sure. Like I was like, do I want to be a YouTuber? Do I want to make videos? Do I want to I don't want to be an influencer. Like that's not what, you know, the goal is. And you know, just all these things because I was just like I'm all over the place, you know. And so long story short, I Create Herstory has become more of like a creative passion project. And I really want it to be a way for me to tell my story through the story of others, but more so giving voice to like marginalized folks and stories that we don't necessarily hear very often, coming from, of course, where I identify as a cis, you know, straight woman, you know, API identifying. And then most folks, you know, look at me and my blood is East Asian, you know, biologically. My family's from East Asia, Southern China, but I identify more with my South Asian roots because my dad was born and raised in Laos, Thailand. My grandmother was Chinese Vietnamese. So I have a lot of like Vietnamese, Laos, Thai kind of like upbringing. And so I've been having a lot of conversations around that recently, actually, because folks are like, oh, yeah, well, what are you? I'm like, oh, Chinese. And so automatically people assume like, oh, I was brought up a certain way, you know, and it's usually like the privileged East Asian type of upbringing, but mine was complete opposite.
Right,
I grew up, you know, low income, practically poverty, you know, struggled a lot financially in my family, lived with, you know, 5 of my younger cousins. So it was always like 8 people in the household, you know, so, had food stamps growing up, you know, free lunches in public school, and I didn't have a tutoring kind of lifestyle, you know, I didn't play piano, I didn't have those, you know, kind of things.
The crazy rich Asian
not me. So, but like most folks think that, you know, when I say that I'm Chinese, but I've been having a lot of those identity kind of conversations where I identify more with my Southeast Asian roots.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, I've known you for 4 years. I didn't know you had Southeast Asian roots.
Yeah. I think because it's like, you know, all of this is kind of coming together and like associating myself with the right type of people, you know, asking myself the right kind of questions, doing a lot of like inner healing work, you know, where I kind of am coming back and like revisiting, you know, younger Karen and what like little Karen had gone through, you know, to piece together like how a lot of the things that I've experienced shows up in my current life. So I've been doing a lot of healing work. And so, it just helped me focus in on what I wanted Create Herstory to be, you know, what I identify as, but then also like, I know that I'm not the only person that has gone through, you know, what I've gone through or like certain traumas, personal experiences. So for me, it's like being able to share these stories is the best way to connect with folks, you know, and that's like, for me, like the hope that we have in humanity, like that's where it all happens, you know?
Yeah.
And so this year we're also launching EKLA events. So that's like my side hustle right now, where growing, like just in my early adult life, I like throwing social events, social gatherings, and folks have always told me, you know, I needed to start my own business. I need to do my own thing. Like this is your jam. You need to like, you know, learn how to make money out of it. And I'd always be like, nah, I just like doing it for fun. Like I just, you know, I just want to like plan parties for people, and that's just what I like doing. And if I turn this into a business, like it won't be fun for me anymore. And that was really what I thought, you know, but I noticed now it was like me creating a roadblock for myself because I was afraid of like diving into that, you know, and like how that would look like, how that would feel. And it only makes sense because here I am preaching like, oh, I want to do something where it doesn't feel like work, and you have to love what you do, and you have to find like something that's fulfilling and rewarding. And it's just like, duh, like this is what it is, you know, like this is your jam, like this is where you thrive, you know, this is where you feel energized. And like people are like, oh, that shit stresses me out. And I'm like, I like this kind of stress. I'm like, give it to me. I like plan events. Yes, you know?
You know what? Thank you for bringing that up. That's really cool. I noticed that you were good at doing these things. You remember you had to plan out, we were in one of Aquino's many awesome classes.
Yeah.
Hi, Professor Allen. What was it? It was his writing class?
It was, the writing class. Was it 2:30?
I forget.
I remember the number. I forgot.
Yeah, it was writing.
Sorry.
It was write that 10-page thing, right?
Yeah. There was a lot of writing involved, but we also had to put together a collaborative...
Lit. It was an AAS Lit.
Lit ass show.
Yeah. Lit ass show. 2016. 2016. Sure. Sure. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
I'm checking. So that was great. Show. You were in charge of the food.
Venue,
what?
and all the things that surround venue. So food was one of them. Where, decor was another. So yeah, I think that's also another reason why I was just like, oh, I'm totally good at this thing. Like I plan like birthday showers and freaking things all the time. So I was like, bam, venue, that's me.
Because I I think to myself, oh, it can't be that hard, and I think to myself, like, oh wait, no. I think I tried something like that, like in high school, like a scenario thing. I'm like, oh my god, event planning is insane. It's so stressful.
It's a lot.
Like I don't think of all the things. Like, oh, okay, we need food, like drinks, I guess, and like
food and drinks fall in the same category.
Event. A place. I mean, an event, right? Like, you need an event for it to happen.
You need an event, yes.
And,
a theme, catchy title, lighting.
Yeah, lighting.
What are you going to do? What are you going to present? What kind of speakers are going to be there? How many speakers? How much time do you have? Where are people coming in from? Where are they exiting from? How many seats are we going to have?
This is why you
Is there a stage? Is there isn't a stage? Like what? Are we using chairs? Are they going to be tables?
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's why I'm not an event planner. But these are the things that people who don't excel at event planning. These are the things that you don't.
Also my Virgo mind.
Okay.
That analytical side.
What is this?
Oriented kind of.
What is Mercury retrograde? I see it a lot.
Essentially, it's like a Mercury, like the universe, right? Okay. So the planets like circle and have like an orbit, right? Okay. So like Mercury retrograde explains what it explained to me is essentially like Mercury is going into its orbit, but it's like retrograde, meaning it's like doing like a boomerang effect. So it's like turning around.
Okay.
And for me, the way I interpret it is that Mercury retrograde is more of like a reflecting time. You know, it's like most folks are like, oh, it's all out of freaking whack because Mercury is just doing its thing and it's the gravitational pull and all that stuff. But it's like really, it's like it's going and it's coming back around. So it's like in a way for you to kind of reflect on like all the things that have been surrounding you in a sense, all the energy and like where you find your alignment. I'm not like in astrology, like full on, like I don't study it at all, but it's just, I find like when I do look through like either my horoscopes or my birth chart and like read up on the different, astrological effects that it has on our physical being, like it aligns a lot with what's going on with like me personally. And I know it's a trip because sometimes people are like, oh, there's so many people in the world. Like, how does one thing line up for like all these people, But it's like, it kind of makes sense because we're of the universe, we are just in this physical form in a sense, and we're just balls of energy, so it's like the way the moon, gravitates in the sun, gravitates in the stars align, like it has something to do with us spiritually. And I believe that, so.
When you say Mercury, we're talking about the planet, right? Yes. Okay, because you're saying orbit. Okay, makes sense. I wasn't sure because when I thought of Mercury retrograde, for some reason I thought of like the element Mercury.
Oh no, we're talking about planets in the universe and stars.
Got it. I felt like I had a feeling, but I was like Mercury retrograde.
Different Mercury.
Okay, Sailor Mercury.
Yes.
Okay. Sailor Mercury. Which one is she again? Do you remember?
Mercury represents the green one. No, that's Saturn.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
You like my gray beanie?
It's not gray.
I know, I'm kidding. It's orange.
It's very bright.
I'm partially colorblind. If you don't know, you probably know. It's just it's tough sometimes. Mm-hmm. But that's interesting. I like that outlook. Do you see a difference in the? Would you call it Western horoscope, the Sagittarius, like the Capricorn, Aries? Is that a Western thing?
No.
Okay, because there's the Chinese, or there's like the
the Chinese zodiac.
Versus, wait.
Well, yeah.
Is zodiac and horoscope, do you think is that the same or similar?
It's similar.
Okay.
It's just one goes by the lunar calendar, so and then the Chinese zodiac was given farm animals, to from the story I heard, it was to help like farmers associate the planets with animals so they could remember like the different traits. What
animal? Oh, you know what? Remember Jackie Chan? They were looking for the talisman. Yeah, that was such a good show.
I love that.
You're looking for the talismans, the ox talisman, the different powers and stuff. Sorry, it's a great show.
It was a cartoon.
It was a cartoon.
Jackie Chan. What was it called?
Jackie Chan Adventures. Jackie Chan Adventures.
Something like that.
And his uncle, and there was the Jade.
His niece.
Toru, who became a good guy.
And his uncle, older uncle.
Was his uncle, right? Just uncle.
Real uncle, yeah. Jade is also his real daughter or
what,
niece.
Really?
Niece.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he has a niece named Jade.
Okay.
It was like kind of based. The characters are like that's Jackie Chan and that's his niece and his
no
uncle,
idea.
and they're fighting, you know, the monsters in like the.
You know what? It's so trippy. Like, I don't think I realized it, but that was an all Asian cast. Well, it's not a movie, but all Asian characters with actual, like, accurate, non-Western. I mean, it was sort of, but not really. But it was accurate, it's legit, and it didn't come off as cheesy. And it was on Kids WB.
Yeah, and it brought in a lot of like Asian culture.
Yeah,
you know, and superstition.
And it was, it wasn't like, it wasn't. What do you call it? It wasn't like whitewashed. It was like legit. I mean, I don't know if it's legit because I'm not Chinese, but it seems you're of Chinese culture, and that makes sense. It wasn't like parody or anything. It was like real.
Yeah, I think that's why I liked it. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that was so cool. I really enjoyed that show. I don't watch those cartoons anymore, but outside of anime, I don't know if there's too many like shows like that represent Asian Americans. I know there's like Jake the Dragon or something, but I don't watch it. And Jake Long.
Yeah, I don't watch it either.
But
out of cartoons for a minute.
Yeah, me too. Well, not those cartoons. But yeah. What's your sign? What's your Chinese zodiac sign?
I am a rat.
Okay. That's your year.
This is my year this year.
What does a rat represent?
Oh, lots of things. But what everyone always says are like rats are smart, very analytical, detailed. You know, they're efficient. That's why they're at the head of the zodiac.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, like I guess the story is that all the animals were in a race, right, to see like where they fall in the zodiac calendar. There's like this whole thing, y'all can look it up, but yeah. The rat was like smart in a sense where it was able to like do all these things, but then like hop on the ox's back to get on the river and like, you know, at the end of the line, it like hopped off and like past the finish line. And that's why that's why it's the first of the zodiac. So there's like this whole story.
I just want to get it clear. That's the Chinese zodiac rat?
Chinese zodiac.
And there's a different kind of rat, which is a derogatory term, which I won't get into.
No, yeah, we're not talking about that.
Yeah. But that's interesting. I'm a rabbit. It says I'm the luckiest of all signs. But, like, you know, I forget the exact things, but I think I tell myself, I do relate to these things, what it says. But, yeah, I had no idea about that story.
You know, it trips me out because the more and more, like, I find out the circle that I'm in and what they are, it's like no wonder why we all get along.
Really?
Yeah, because I have a lot of rabbits in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and then like even horoscope wise, like all my best friends are like earth signs, like Tauruses.
Okay, what is the? Because I know there's hopping back to, I guess, Western horoscope. There's like fire and like metal.
It's like earth, wind, fire.
Like what? I mean.
Maybe we shouldn't dive too much into this because we're both not like super well versed in that.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I just feel like, oh, it's so cool. Like,
there's the cosine app.
CoStar.
So much I know.
Not sponsored.
But I just found it funny where like you told me about it, and I had to ask my mom like, hey, what? I mean, I know when I was born. Yeah. I know the date, but not the time. And out of nowhere, she goes, "Oh, you're looking at horoscopes." So I'm like, "How'd you know? How'd you know?" Oh, I know these things.
We're just spirit. Like honestly, this is way before Western, freaking horoscope. It's like just like I said, the moon and the stars, and like the universe. We're spiritual in that sense, and like connecting with nature and like. The elements, this is all kind of like part of our being, and I truly believe that, it's like going back to our roots. It's like, why do we refer to nature in that sense? right? Why do we feel like one when we're like outside and like breathing the air? Why do our bodies need vitamin D from the sun? You know, it's all correlated and it all aligns with one another. So it just makes absolute sense. So it's like we're all spiritual in a sense, you know?
I like the spiritual title.
Yeah, it's all spiritual.
Did you have any New Year's resolutions? And if so, how are you doing with that?
Yeah, I was trying to not follow, because like, you know, New Year's resolutions, it's like we're following this calendar and it's all socially constructed. And so I just try to remind myself of like what I want and like try to manifest that. But essentially what my New Year's resolutions were to be more compassionate with myself, to step into my power, and then just be true to me, like be who I am, be true. And I know it's all very vague. I'm a very vague person to begin with, and it's really difficult for me to open up.
100%. Oh yeah, no, I'll open up as much as you want, as little as you want, you know.
But like that is essentially it, because most of the times it's like we have compassion for others, but we don't give ourselves compassion.
Agreed.
And that was one thing that I've been struggling with a lot. You know, you've heard me talk about self-talk and you've heard me talk about self-doubt. And I'm really, through the inner work that I'm doing, really like delving deep and trying to unpack all that. And it has a lot to do with, you know, the shit that I was brought up in, you know, and the things that were told to me at a very young age, you know. And so like I had a conversation with someone that I met and we're talking about like our goals and like EKLA events and like what I wanted to be and all these things. And they're just like, yeah, I feel it. I like it. Yeah. So what's standing in your way? Like, what's the number one thing? I was like, me? They're like, what? That's like the last thing I would think that you would say is standing in your way. Like when you talk about it, you're so like, you're driven. Like I believe you. And like for you to say that you stand in your own way was like I wouldn't even think that was an obstacle. And I'm like, I'm my own obstacle. I am. It's hard.
You know what? I agree with you 100% because I feel like I stand in my own way.
Yeah, we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm all too familiar and trying to get out the habit of self-sabotage. It's funny, I'm thinking of doing some self-sabotaging tonight. But
I mean, also it's like you realize that, you know, it's like self-regulating, self-aware, you know, and just kind of like just be nice to yourself, you know?
Yeah. I totally agree. I spoke about self-compassion and being nice to yourself, but I totally agree with the whole, you know, a lot of times we're sitting in our own way kind of thing where we have doubts and fears. And it's so funny how everyone can believe in us, but sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. And that's big, you know, I think, to realize that.
Yeah. One thing I'm trying to like remind myself is that like, how would I say the things to my friends like the way I'm talking to myself? Like, I would never.
Me neither.
Never. So it's like putting yourself in that, like, what would you tell your best friend if they're going through what you're going through? Like, how would you talk to them? You know, you should talk to yourself that way.
I like that.
And, right?
I like that.
It's just realizing, like, creating those boundaries, you know, like for myself. And, like, one thing through coaching that I've realized is, like, checking in with my body, you know, and I would ignore and neglect, like, what my body was telling me because I would just, like, it's fine. I would just push through it, and I'm young and I'm healthy and I, you know, eat semi-healthy and I, you know, do certain things where I still feel strong and it's fine. But your body correlates with so much of what's going on, you know, and then like when you ignore it, that's when you start getting sick, you know, that's when you have all these like, just, you know, your body is talking to you and you just have to tune in and listen to it, you know. And through like coaching and healing, I'm actually starting to realize that my body's been talking to me this whole time, but I'm the one that's like shutting it out. And there's reasons, there's like my body has learned to survive, right? And through certain traumatic experiences and just certain things in my life at a young age, it learned how to survive in that sense, you know. And I had a breakthrough like coaching session, you know, earlier this week where I was just like, oh shit, like my body's literally preparing to get struck. Like I
get that too.
You know, like I was, I guess, disciplined and, you know, a certain way when I was growing up.
Same. And I tense up when like I think part of what we're talking about outside. Like I get work anxiety when I'm told to do certain things a certain way. I tense up and I kind of like I lose focus and I'm just like really on edge. I agree. I'm same way 100%. Where I think a lot of it, I tune out and like to drink, get high, whatever. I think that's my it's an escape that I've learned over my teens and adulthood, which I'm trying to really like sit with the feeling, even though it's uncomfortable, to the best of my ability. And it's hard, but yeah, 100% agree. You do coaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a basketball coach?
Life coach, I would say.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's been a trip, like just this past year, like year and a half. Like, I think once I started accepting, like I really needed to do work. I just couldn't. I didn't know how. I didn't know like what to do. How do I get started? Like I really wanted, like naive me was like, oh, I'm done healing and working on my own. Like I can do this. Let's next step now, like, okay, like how naive of me to ever think that I was done healing. Like really, I have so much grief that I haven't dealt with. I have so much like family pain that I haven't dealt with. I have so much trauma that I haven't, dealt with. And even like abandonment issues with my mom leaving me at a young age, and like responsibilities and stuff. So it was just like, I was trying to like tell myself like I'm doing my own inner work and I'm good. Like now I can move on to like all these other adult things that I want to do with my life and my goals and my passions, which is great, but I really wasn't done. And what's tripping me out is that like, I think we've had this conversation where I feel like the universe is just like, pushing me in certain directions and like showing me things and then aligning the people in my life that I needed at that time. So a year ago, like I was like in nonprofit, like trying to like find, where I fit in there. And, you come across people and you meet people, but like one of them is one of like my really good friends now, Ton. And they're doing their healing work and coaching work. And, it kind of happened serendipitously for us to like get together, and we had like our one working day. And after that, it was like, that was it, and it's a trip because a lot of the people in my very close circle that I have, like, I truly believe they're placed in my life at that time for a specific purpose, we're creating these mutually beneficial like relationships where we support each other and guide each other through like what we need guidance with. And Ton is my healing coach and life coach out of that first work date. It was like we just met up, talked, and it just felt so aligned and in sync. And they weren't even doing coaching and healing yet, and through like conversations and just hanging out and one thing led to another, and then like they went through a transition, and then it was like just obvious like that's the type of work that they should be doing. And then they like approached me and was like, hey, would you be open to like exploring this with me? Like if I started this like coaching? And I was just like, yeah, I'll be your guinea pig. And that's the other thing with me is that like, I'm just open, and that's another thing where I was just like, there's a lot of things that come to us, and you have to be open to receiving it, in order to let something like come to fruition, like there's a reason why it's coming to you. But like a lot of us either create our own barriers, we're not open to receiving. So I was just, it was just kind of serendipitous, right place, right time. They approached me about coaching, and that was in like October. So they met early in the year, and then coaching came about like in October. And it's just been so much triggered sessions, and but through that like so much growth happens.
It's tough to revisit traumatic experiences and kind of sit with the triggers and stuff. I'm kind of slowly learning through talking to people about who go through similar stuff and similar issues that kind of have to sit through it. It's hard.
It's a lot to unpack. And like we're essentially trying to change, like break the cycle of like generational trauma. You know, like it's not just the stuff that we experience personally. Like I mean, I truly believe that I'm an ancestor in the making. You know, like whatever I'm doing in this physical form, in this physical life that I'm in right now, is going to affect the lives afterwards, like the generations that will come after me. You know, and if I don't set that tone, like this is just gonna get fucked from here, like from me on down. You know, and like I'm trying to I'm just, you know, sounds cliche, but I want to be that change. Like I'm the transformation that needs to happen, you know, and I'm going in with that mindset now. Like I need to fix all the stuff that I absorbed from my aunt, my mom, my grandmother, and essentially like they went through trauma, and who affected them, like what affected them, and whatever affected them affected the previous people before them, and we got all that. Like I got the shit that they went through, like it came to me.
Yeah.
And if I don't stop it, it will continue on the bloodline, you know, and I don't want that to happen. Like I am better than that. We are better than that, and it needs to stop here, you know, and I'm doing that work, and that's why it's so much, because it's not just what I'm going through, it's all the shit that came down on me, you know.
That's true. I look back with my upbringing, and you know, I have had like, you know, childhood trauma and stuff, and looking back at it, you know, I can empathize with some of this stuff because, you know, I'm the only child, and like my parents were young, and stuff that happened, it's like, dude, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Like when I was that age, I couldn't even take care of like myself. How can they take care of me? I mean, they tried hard. I mean, they did a great job, but I like what you said about the trauma that they had to go through and the pressure and all this stuff. Doesn't make it okay, but it is what it is, and I am also breaking the generational cycle just by just ending it with me. No kids. I don't think I want kids, honestly.
Well, that's different.
but you know what I'm saying?
That's a different way of like I'm saying like ending the cycle.
Yeah.
Like
No, last of the
bloodline.
That's the bloodline, you know. But I like what you were saying.
I get that.
I like what you're saying with, you know, you gotta change yourself and kind of not mentor the younger people, but just kind of like lead by example.
You have to, you know.
I can't. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't like preach. Like, okay, it's similar in hip hop. I'm sorry. It's gonna all go back. It's similar in hip hop and similar with the fans of it. You have the older generation and your generation. There's a divide. I want to be a bridge between, because I'm 32. Okay, I hang out with younger kids. You know, like I look young and shit. We look young, whatever. But I'm 32, and in hip hop standards, that's like you're an old head. You're older. I don't want to be there. There's a lot of people that are in the older generation. Oh, you know, the newer generation, they don't know what they're doing. Look what they're doing. I don't want their music. And people in the younger generation, where it's like, you know, they don't know shit. They think they know everything. I feel like I'm in both, because I look young, and also because I like the younger music and younger things, younger like music, the style, the fashion, whatever. And I want to lead by example. I want to say that, you know, just because you don't like something, you can't talk shit about the whole younger generation, or, you know, that kind of thing. And where I'm going with this is just that I want to lead by example. You know, I want to be like I want to be someone they want to talk to when they have these issues, not just outside of music, but just in life in general. I don't want to be like this like jaded older guy. Oh, you know, fuck the younger kids, you know, and then the younger kids, oh, like, you know, you're a boomer kind of thing, whatever. I definitely I like having younger friends and like people of my age and older friends. You know, I like to correlate with them. You know, I like to lead by example and just how I act. I mean, I'm not the like most like, I'm not a fucking angel or anything, but
well, that's the thing. It's like, it's not that, you know, we're the best examples. You know, it's not like we're the best mentors or anything. It's just we want to be able to like share our experience, you know, and what we learned from it. Share experience and
share experience and just, you know, what we gone through, and also at the same time, you know, show compassion. You know, show understanding and empathy. I think that's big. I think back to the New Year's resolution thing. One of mine is having, self-compassion, having empathy, clarity, being able to be more present. A lot of, these aren't bad goals, but, I want to lose weight. I want a six-pack. I want to, get a high-paying job. I want to get a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever.
To each their own.
To each their own. And that's great. I think these are goals that are great. But for me, I think working that inner work, having clarity, being present, being more mindful, empathy and compassion, I think, if we can pass that down to the younger generation, I think they're really good at it. They grew up on this stuff kind of thing, more than we did.
Yeah,
they're
for sure.
more receptive, I guess when I say we, I guess we're talking about like Asian culture. They're more westernized, they're more like open to different things. There's not that rigid gender roles anymore that we may have had to experience, not the expectations. It's still there, but it may not be as much, and
it's just a little more fluid now. I think it's just a little more, there's a lot more openness. Information is shared widely and instantly now, and the next generation are more aware, more socially aware, more freaking woke, than we were. But also it's like just the mass sharing of information, and
it can be good and bad.
Good and bad, yes. I agree. But that's just the thing, though. Technology has progressed a lot faster. Like, we didn't grow up with friggin' iPads and phones, and
man.
So it's just there. Yeah.
I saw online. It's kind of it's a morbid joke, but you know what the kids are calling coronavirus?
What?
Boomer remover.
Wow. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you said you're woke. I'm woke off the coke. I haven't slept in 2 days. I'm kidding. I haven't. No, it's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. I just want to say I'm woke off the coke. I just, when you say woke, I'm like, okay, it's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah. I wanted to party last night, but I'm like, you know what?
I actually went out last night. Oh, wow, so rare.
Ooh. Tell me more. How'd it go? It's fun?
It was chill. Yeah, it was fun. Went out, to a bar. Actually saw a musical, so.
Ooh, is it, what musical?
It was actually, it's called Assassins. I don't know if it's going to, it might get canceled, because of what's all going on. But it was put on by East West Players. So
that sounds so familiar.
Little Tokyo Service. Okay. Yeah. And it was amazing. So I hope it gets, y'all please support, like your local artists and creatives, especially like folks like East West Players, like, putting on these shows in theater, and like, it was great.
That's good.
It was great. But they did like a pre-show because it might not move forward. It will probably get canceled. So there's a lot of things surrounding that. But I was invited by some friends.
Nice.
And then we did a pre-party at Far Bar, and then a post-party at Far Bar.
What's Far? That's a bar.
It's a bar in Little Tokyo. So it's essentially where everybody goes. Yeah. I
went to Little Tokyo a while ago. It was cool. They had sushi there. I forgot the name. Such as an O or an M. I don't know.
Okay, there's a lot of restaurants.
But yeah. It was there. And then I went with Liz, and then went to the rooftop bars like Nomad Hotel and Freehand.
Nice.
And
also, okay.
Went to Sugarfish. It's so good.
It's funny that you bring up Sugarfish.
Why is it funny?
Because we had
You went to Sugarfish?
No, we had this conversation
sushi
last
conversation.
night. No, it wasn't a sushi conversation. It was what we would... I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
It's just basically like if we were going to be a food chain, like what would we be called? And I was Sugarfish.
Got it. A fat chain, like the omega-3 fatty acids. Got it. Okay.
Like I would be Sugarfish. One of my friends was Outback Steakhouse.
Okay, nice.
There's a lot of like sexual innuendos that go with these.
Got it.
Yeah, my other friend was Lube Lemon.
Got it. Nice. Got it.
It wasn't a food thing, but
Got it.
Yeah, so it was a fun night, you know, it was chill. Yeah, I got some like odd vibes. I think I was getting hit on, but then like changed into like this odd conversation about like their stereotypes of how LA women are and like their bad experiences. And I was just like, yo, you're just like attracting the wrong kind of energy to you, you know, like you're not in the right kind of spaces. I mean, I didn't say right and wrong. I was just like, maybe you need to like, you know, I think it's the energy you're attracting to you.
Right. I'm seeing like how the audio is. I think I was able to lean back the whole time because my back was hurting.
I just leaned back right now. I was like, oh, this is comfy.
Yeah. No,
Also, I'm loud. Wow.
Okay, so, yeah, you know, I felt the same way because I a long time ago, I was like, why do I attract all the I don't try not to say problematic words. Why do I attract like the women, the ones that are super attractive but have a lot of like issues, right? Like all these kind of things. I'm saying it the nicest way. Like the, you know, why do I attract them? And then like one woman at the party was like, maybe it's how you perceive them, and maybe it's like your own thing, and you're not. She said something profound. I forgot how similar to what you're saying. How like it's how you.
It's the energy you're attracting.
Yeah, it's what you're attracting. It's where you find.
And it's also what you're putting out there.
Yeah, you know, it's like what you're putting out there. It's where you find these women. You know, like, you know, not a bad thing, but it's like, you know,
the spaces that you're in.
Yes, I mean, you know, like, you know, you find you go to like a bunch of bars and get drunk and like messed up. Like, what do you expect? You expect like you're gonna find people that are like not in their best mindset. You know, this and that, and you have like misconceptions and stuff. But yeah, the way she said it was like, well, maybe it sounds like it's your problem and not theirs, kind of thing. Where it's like that's all you see them as, you know?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Personally, I mean, there's always like stereotypes of LA women or people in Hollywood, you know, there are stereotypes, you know. I think once you get past that, I mean, I guess it's fun to joke about it to a degree. Yeah, you know, this and that, but
I get that, because folks are always like, oh, LA, right? That LA vibe, and like, oh, LA people are so fake, LA people are so Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because you're falling into these spaces. Like, oh, you're an artist, so you're going to go where all these other artists are that like are just like you, that they weren't born and raised. Because this person was like, oh, where were you, like, did you grow up here? I'm like, yeah, born and raised in LA. They're like, oh, so they think like I'm a freaking certain way, and I'm like, nah, fool. Like, that's you're surrounding yourself with the people who are just like you. You know, they're not even from LA. They like moved here. Yeah, they're transplants, and they're trying to like, they're doing the same thing you're doing. You want to like pursue art. You want to be an artist. You know, you want to go into acting and like all these things. I'm like, I was born and raised here. That's not something that I want to do. You know, I don't want to pursue Hollywood. You know, like I'm on my own trip. Like, I'm gonna go do like, they were like, oh, you're creative, so what do you create? I was like, what the fuck?
Wow, what the fuck?
You trying to put me in a box already?
Yeah,
like, I just met you like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you know, I think some people have a way of like thinking it's funny to hit on people like that, and sometimes it works, but I think for me personally, being honest and not being sarcastic and witty and just being yourself as a better...
Well, it was funny because it was like a funny little like exchange, and I'm like, okay, like this was trying to like hit on me kind of vibes, but then it turned into like, I don't know, because I have like conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, well, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, oh, what do you mean? And then they started talking about like their stereotypes on like, you know, LA women and like their dating stuff, and like how they like perceive, you know, like women to be entitled, and like they want me to pay for everything. And I was just like, oh, you're giving too much all at once. And they're like, oh, so I'm just supposed to not pay for anything? And then they're like, oh, well, fuck you, I'm gonna leave, date's over. And I'm like, again, the energy you know, and it was like, I don't know, like a 10-15 minute conversation. At the end, they're like, oh wow, you're really good at this. And I'm like, good at what? Talking? Asking you questions? And then they were like opening up, you know, and I'm like, I don't know you, I don't know what, you know, brought you there, why, you know, you wanted to date that person, but maybe it's just what you're attracting. I don't know what you're doing, but maybe it's the, you know. At the end, they're like, thank you so much, Yoda, it was so nice to meet you. And I was like, Yoda, the fuck? I was like, you gonna ask me for my number or no? Guess not.
You know what rhymes with emo? Male fragile male ego.
Yeah. My friend was like, that guy sounds toxic. I was like, yeah, I think he was toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad he didn't ask me for my number because I don't know how I would have.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh yeah, well, thank you so much, and I hope. What did they say? Like, oh, like you're gonna go home to your husband or your boyfriend, or they're lucky. And I was like, I have neither. Assume? I was like, I have neither. Thanks, I'm single. Oh yeah, you're single. I was like, what the heck? This is weird.
Yeah, I'm so out of the dating loop.
I don't even know the dating loop. Like, I don't understand.
I just send memes, man.
I just read memes.
Yeah, I just send memes. Hi.
I'm just
to like, send memes too.
Like, I just want things to happen organically,
Yeah.
They do. And that's what I said to that fool too. I was like, just let things, if it's going to happen organically, let it happen organically. Like, you're probably trying to force things too much. And
Sounds
like the energy that you're putting out there is just like getting all convoluted, like just open up, chill out. Like, if it's going to happen, let it happen. I know it's like the very hippie, like, thing for me to say, but I believe in that. You have to have like a flow,
Yeah, I think what's that? The more you resist, the more it persists, I think. The more you resist, the more it one of those. When the more you persist, the more it resists. One of those.
The more you resist,
the more it persists.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I let it go with the flow kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's just energy again, like, and that's the other thing. Like, the more, like, certain things that you resist the most, that's like one thing that needs the most work. Yeah.
So if I don't resist drugs, it'll come to me more. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I mean,
yeah. That was a joke. It's funny.
Let's not with the drugs.
Harm reduction, honestly, I don't have an issue with people using drugs. I'll say it every single fucking podcast. Just be safe about it. Especially if like you're sniffing drugs right now, like just make sure don't share whatever you're sniffing with, and use a tampon applicator. Right? Don't use bills or dirty straws to cut up your nose. But back to the dating thing. I felt okay. I met this girl at this place.
This place during this time.
I don't want to say it, and she seemed really cool. But I thought she was really attractive. And I asked her like, "Oh, could I get your number?" And I wanted to be on the courteous side, the more chill. I want to get your Can I get your number? As friends, of course. And she's like, "Oh, I guess you can always use friends." I wasn't sure how to take that. I'm like, cool. But, I don't want to come off as, like, kind of, I haven't asked that in a long time, so I'm super rusty at that. But I'm just being like, hey, seem like a nice person, nice woman, get your number. And I don't know how, and then when she started asking about family, like maybe this goes back to our topic of like family upbringing, I got really defensive. Like, she has both her parents are still together. And she goes, oh, so I told her that like my parents are like, one lives in NorCal, one lives in like Irvine. So, oh, your parents divorced? I'm like, yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And when people ask about this stuff in the past, I've never been so defensive. But then I was like, sorry for what? You didn't do anything. And it's like, oh, that must be like really sad. I'm like, not really. I mean, it was just a text, so it may have sounded passive aggressive, but I always ended it with like an LOL or like, oh, And she goes, and I told her that I didn't know my parents really till I was 7. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, sorry for what? Like, I didn't do it. You didn't do anything. And I told some other friends, and I was like, you're getting defensive. I'm like, yeah, I think the way she's asking me, maybe, it's like, again, like with saying sorry all the time. And saying sorry to something like that, it's like, I don't know, my friend was saying maybe because she doesn't know other than that, like, she's always had her parents, so she may feel sorry for you. But I was like, please don't feel sorry for me. Like, I'm not asking for your pity or your sorriness. And I was like, wow, maybe I'm so out of touch that maybe she's trying to get to know me. And I was just like being defensive and being a dick.
Well, it was just, that's the response that you're responding with when you kept hearing her apologize. Because I mean, I feel the same way where people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
you didn't do it. Is it your fault? Like, are you the reason my parents split up? I don't care.
Yeah, but then also it's like probably, I mean, we don't know, I don't know her, right?
Yeah.
Like, I always think of like what other people are thinking, but then I put like my own feelings like separate, or like I don't even think of my own feelings. But like when what I was thinking when you were saying that was that like she probably had an experience where she encountered someone else that had family divorce, and they were probably like acting a certain way. So for her to respond to divorce now was like, oh, I'm so sorry, it must be so hard, you must have gone through a really difficult time, like they probably fought over you and got custody, and like you probably went through a court battle or something, and like, and those, you know what I mean? So she's like creating all these things, and you're over here like, nah, like it didn't affect me like that.
Yeah. And
why are you sorry?
Yeah. And my friend's like, yo, maybe she's trying to get to know you, but it's weird because maybe it's the way she said it, because I've never reacted that violently. Not like it was a physical violence, but like I've never acted so defensive in those questions, because I meet people, you know, they ask me about like life stuff and family, and I'm like super chill about it. But I guess it's maybe how she responded to these questions, how I responded, and her answers to it. It kind of like
it made you feel a certain way.
Yeah. And yeah, she should probably get to know me, my friends. I'm like, yo, maybe, you know, I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, my bad. And then she's a picky eater.
That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, she's not Asian, but she's like, I never had boba. I'm like, oh. But then again, I step back, like, maybe I'm so immersed in Asian culture, and just like that culture that, like, to me, you living in LA, that to me is odd. But I wasn't judging. I'm like, okay, you're not like Asian, so I can't hold that against you.
It could be an opportunity to kind of just share, right? Like your culture, and expose someone who's not been exposed to, you know, API culture.
Yeah, that's true. And
but also might show a lot of differences.
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I'll eat pizza, hamburgers, steak. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I like those. I'm trying to, hey, I like In-N-Out. You know, I like pizza. And I was mentioning sushi, and she goes, I don't understand like how people can eat raw fish. It doesn't sound healthy. I'm like, well, the Japanese have been eating this for hundreds of years, and they seem pretty healthy. You know, I don't like Indian food. It smells. I'm like, all right. I don't know. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, maybe some culture clash there.
And you know,
also
like,
making you feel a certain way.
I don't want to lash out. I don't want to get my AP. I don't get all Asian American studies like
defensive and stuff.
Well, you know.
Let me educate you.
Let me tell you something. And I was like, well, you know, I responded, well, I guess everyone's different. It's your cup of tea. And she was like, I want to travel the world, but it just does suck that I'm so picky that I don't think I can enjoy the food as much. You know, that's a fair response, you know. But then again, it's like some people are picky eaters, and I can't knock that. But when she started bringing in like I don't know how people can eat raw fish. It sounds unhealthy, or Indian food smells. I'm like, well, these are like, I was doing my best to not lash out, because I was about to. I'm like, mother, you know. But yeah, and it just kind of the conversation stopped becoming as frequent. I'm so glad that it was a mutual ghost.
I think obviously there's like differences, right? Yeah. So that's the interesting thing that I notice in the dating realm, right? You come across a lot of different. I mean, I don't know dating, but it's just like you come across different people, and like you start to see like different people, like learn other folks' perspectives. But I think it just kind of helps us see where we're coming from. Yeah. You know, what are our core values? Like what do we, you know, who do we want to align ourselves with, right?
I'm sorry. It's gonna cap out at 1 hour.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we're about to get dim sum. I hate to.
We've been talking nonsense. I don't know, like.
No, this is good. That was good.
We're talking nonsense. I don't know.
Yeah, so we had it caps off at 1 hour. I'm trying to keep these at 1 hour. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know. What did we accomplish today?
I guess I liked some stuff.
Yeah? Some stuff?
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff?
Yeah. I think we accomplished a lot.
What are our main takeaways with this conversation?
I don't know, but it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was that good because we had to look at the time.
Dang, wow. So yeah, we're doing a lot of things.
At Herstory Karen is her Instagram. You can find her there.
EKLA
Hi, Erin.
Dot
I like your
events.
scene hair.
Yeah, she's amazing.
You're amazing. And
do fundraising and event planning. Oh, we're gonna create. Oh, that was one thing. Yeah.
Next time.
Dang, next time. We're gonna create. Look out for it, like a main event this year.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
this
you.
is the Voncast show.
Thank you,
for being here,
Voncast
Karen.
show.
We got some dim sum.
Woo!
Okay.
Peace signs.
Hella Asian.
Yay.
Disposable camera, 2003 Asian. Bye.
Bye.